What's up, guys? Coming at you from Shenzhen. I am back from Jiangxi province. I was on the road for 17 hours and it was only like, it was like 700, 800 kilometers. A lot of people on the road, a lot of people traveling here in China because, well, people can't travel abroad for the holiday and people have been cooped up at home for a long time. So everybody's taking the opportunity to go out. So a lot of traffic on the way back. I haven't fully recovered, but I wanted to fire up my laptop. I'm just recording this directly on my laptop to introduce a video to you and recommend you guys check something out. I found it highly entertaining. Depending on how this video goes, I'll do some more quick updates like this. I always say it's going to be a quick video and it ends up being really long. So let's see how we do. So the video I'm going to introduce to you is a debate that Carl Zha has. He's a guy who I've been following for a long time on Twitter. Just amazingly knowledgeable guy, knows his history, incredibly interesting to listen to, and he started debating people recently on his channel. He hasn't put much effort into his YouTube channel up until now, so I recommend you guys follow him. You'll see the link in the description to the debate, and you can follow him from that. If you're on Twitter, I recommend you following him there also. So the video that I'm going to introduce to you is, I think it's his second debate. I know this stemmed off from a previous debate with a guy named Noah, I believe. And what ended up happening was this other guy, Lyman, I think his name is. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. He's, let me see his description here. He says he's Lutheran, he's a demographer, and he's doing his PhD at McGill. So I thought, okay, sounds pretty interesting. This is going to be an interesting debate. It was highly anticipated because of the little bit of fun, making fun of each other that went on before that. You know, he was saying, you know, how about you debate me? And then Carl was saying, I'll be more than happy to demolish all your arguments in a live debate if you dare to accept. And he accepted, and they had a live debate. I tuned in for it. I caught the last couple of hours of it. It was 3 hours. But then I went back and watched the first hour of it after it was posted. And it was weird. It was really weird. There's one particular part that was really problematic that brings in a lot of question to the rest of Lyman's work. And Lyman, again, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce this name. I should have looked it up before I started this video. But I want to show you that clip directly. I posted it to my Twitter, and now I'm going to show you guys that video now. Let's play it together here.
Well, I can get on Taobao right now and I can buy some Uyghur labor. So if we want to talk about the selling of unfree labor, this is well documented. It is easy to find. You can purchase unfree labor. It is advertised with military surveillance. You can look it up. You can find it today. You can find it today.
So this is this is like, you know, obviously when he says it, it's like, okay, this should be interesting. How is he going to back this up? This is easily verifiable. You can buy Uyghur labor on Taobao, unfree Uyghur labor. You can see Carl just lighting up saying, whoa, hold on a second here. Let's continue the video though.
You just made a claim that you said you can go to Taobao today, you can purchase a Uyghur slave. So I challenge you right now, open up your browser, go to Taobao, and show me where you can purchase a Uyghur slave.
Unfortunately, I can't do Chinese characters.
You can see Lyman. His face is going, uh-oh, I'm being called out on this. And he says, unfortunately, my keyboard can't do Chinese characters. What does that mean? What kind of a keyboard does he need to do Chinese characters? He can't input pinyin onto his keyboard? But anyways, let's continue this and see how he's going to back this up.
Hey, so let's back up your claim right now. This is your chance.
It's probably not actually Taobao.
Okay, like I can see the Chinese, and I can verify that at least this says what it says. It says we provide a lot of government-sponsored workers dispatching from Xinjiang. Right. This is a different from your claim that you can go to Taobao and order a Uyghur slave. Right?
Do you think these people have a choice in going?
We can actually talk about this because this Chinese
do you think these people have a choice in this?
So, so he ends up saying, okay, maybe it's not on Taobao. And the article, I think it's important to note too, and Carl did mention this in there. I had to cut this short to fit it on Twitter. But he reminded his audience that ASPI, the website he's using for his resource here, is a military industrial complex backed organization. They're backed by Raytheon, Boeing, all of these kinds of companies, and they profit a lot from fear mongering. They just sold a massive amount of military equipment to Australia to counter the China threat. So of course you've got to promote organizations that are going to push this China threat idea. Obviously, Carl can see the original underlying Chinese, and he can say to him, buddy, this is not what this says. Anyways, but let's continue to see how Lyman backs himself up after this, after he's saying, okay, we got some problems here.
You think those workers got a choice in where they went? You know what? Here's the funny thing. I've met some of them. They didn't have a choice.
You met some of them.
Yes.
Where? In Canada.
That would be an interesting thing for me to say.
How did you meet them in Canada? I'm just curious, because if they're Unfree Labor in China, how did you meet them in Canada?
You can hear in Carl's voice where he starts laughing. He's like, okay, this is going to be good. And he's even got to take a drink to prepare for this. He's like, oh, okay, all right, this is going to be good. So let's hear what he says.
I can say that I have met someone who was who did not have their labor expropriated from them as a result of their choice.
So how did they end up in Canada?
I'm not saying they were in Canada.
Okay,
but
so
for their own safety, I can't really give.
So you are saying you are in contact with a Uyghur in China who is working in the slave factories?
No.
Okay. Okay. So right now I just have.
But look,
to
if you can Google plenty of first-hand accounts.
All right, so that's what he relies on. He relies on saying, I know somebody, but I can't tell you anything about him. And this is where it gets really difficult when you're debating people like this. I've been offered to have some people come on my show who I don't know anything about, and they're apparently activists. And it's going to be impossible to just, if they come out with personal stories saying, well, I personally know this, or I personally saw this, how do you counter that? I had this kind of an interaction with a guy named Olsi. He's a journalist who went to Xinjiang, and he was invited into the vocational training centers. It was around the same time the BBC did their documentary on it. And he reached out to me on Twitter, and he says, have you seen my videos? I said, no, I haven't. Can you share them with me? And he shared them with me, and he was talking to, he calls them prisoners. They can go home on the weekends, though. But they were people who did things like they were forcing people to pray, or they were, what was one of the other things? They were downloading extremist videos and calling non-Muslim followers basically infidels, and that they should be separated from the rest of society. Just some really potentially dangerous stuff. Whether they deserve to be go into these vocational training centers or not is another question, but that's something that I really wanted to explore with him. But then suddenly he jumped to a claim in his chat with me saying that they were like, because I started asking him some questions about it, and he said they were like Nazi concentration camps. I said, whoa, really? I said, in what way? And he said, I saw humans in cages. And I said, whoa, okay, do you mind sending me the videos, your videos or your footage from those portions? And he said, yeah, sure, hang on a second. And then he sends me another video, but it was just more interviews of people in a classroom with a guy saying that he was considered himself really close and good friends with the teacher. And I said, I don't see where the humans are in the cages. Can you tell me at what minute marker point can I go to? And he got really upset. He's like, well, I don't know why you're so focused on this. Why I don't know why you're so focused on this. I just want to, I want to know more about what you're talking about here. And then he backed off from the claim, and he eventually said, okay, well, it was a grammar mistake. That's what he kept saying in the public tweets afterwards. It's like, you don't make a grammar mistake like that and say it's a Nazi concentration camp and you saw people in cages. And so for Lyman, it's a similar kind of a thing. So afterwards in his Twitter, what he did was he went on this rampage saying, oh, I won the debate and everything like that. But in terms of the issue with saying you could buy unfree Uyghur labor on Taobao, he says that he basically pinned it down to it being 11:30 at night and him working a 12-hour shift. It's the same kind of thing. That's a really superficial excuse. You don't, because you're tired, come up with a massive claim like this that basically you can buy slaves on Taobao. That just doesn't happen. Maybe you're tired and you forget a fact, or you're not able to remember a source or something like that. But to just come up with something like that, and what does that mean? What does that does that have implications for anything that this guy tweets after 11:30 p.m. at night? Do you have to take anything he tweets after 11:30 p.m. at night with a grain of salt? How do we know what parts of his other research wasn't done under exhaustion late at night? Would he admit that he made a mistake if he wasn't called out like he was called out with this? I don't think so. And so it basically discredits almost everything that this guy does. And it's unfortunate because maybe we could have pulled some value from some of the things he said. I'll play you a second clip also. It repeats some of what I just showed you, but it goes on to basically come back a little bit on his claim and say, oh, okay. You know, after he was called out, well, maybe it wasn't on Taobao, it was something else. Let me show you that clip here.
So if we want to talk about the selling of unfree labor, this is well documented. It is easy to find. You can purchase unfree labor. It is advertised with military surveillance. You can look it up. You can find it today.
And it's a very serious accusation. That's why I call you out on it, right?
So just pausing it here for a second, there's some pieces cut out from the middle here, but basically Lyman is trying to change the topic. He doesn't want to talk about this anymore. He's like, why are we even talking about this? Let's get back on topic. He wants to distance himself from this, and he's getting annoyed that Carl wants him to back this up. And it's the same thing that I described to you that happened with that guy Olsey that I just mentioned. Let's continue here.
Right. But
all right. Let me modify. A Chinese company can go on some form of business-to-business portal and purchase unfree Uyghur labor. Is that much better to say that a company can purchase rather than an individual? Is that like a big improvement?
So you can see Lyman's getting really annoyed and aggravated by being called out on this. But you know, after he said that he made a mistake, he kind of doubled down on it still, even after he made the 11:30 at night excuse. Because when I tweeted this out, I said to him, listen, I own 2 companies in China. Can you share the link for the business-to-business slave trading, slave labor portal platform? He doesn't say, okay, no, come on, guys, it was a mistake. He says, sure, yeah, here it is. And he reshares the ASPI article again, the one that Carl already addressed and said, that's not what this is saying. So I replied to him again and I said, thanks for this link to a military industrial complex backed article. I mean, what I'd like to do is I'd like to go to the business portal directly and try to order a slave myself with free military surveillance to work in my company. And what I'll do is I'll vlog about the experience and I'll share my findings with you guys to help your research with ASPI and with your research. And then and then he blocked me. He blocked me after this, so that's not going to happen. My craft beer is going to remain slave labor free. But it was really remarkable. I recommend you guys go and check out the rest of the entire debate. It's a bit long. It's 3 hours. If you're still even interested in hearing what he has to say after you see the kinds of things that he makes up, but he, you know, beyond that, he actually has a lot of other blunders beyond just that. You know, one thing he did, he was trying to at one point talk to Carl about how China's neighboring countries have a slightly lower public opinion on China than countries elsewhere in the world. For example, the public opinion polls from Vietnamese people, they slightly favor China less than people in Brazil, let's say. And so Carl pointed out, he says, you know, of course that's quite normal. Neighbors are going to have issues that they're going to have to deal with, and they more closely deal with each other. So he's not surprised by that. And he says, what do you think Central American countries think about America, about USA? You know, that's going to look pretty terrible. And so what Lyman does is he pretends to look up some data showing that he focuses on Mexico and Brazil. And he says that he pretends to read out something that says in 2018, 2/3 of Mexicans had a positive opinion about America. Anybody who suggests that the countries south of the U.S., particularly in Central America, would have an overwhelmingly positive opinion about America, anybody who isn't trapped in some sort of an American exceptionalism type thinking would immediately say, hang on a second there, that doesn't sound right. And but he goes with it. He goes with it and he says that, yeah, this is the 2018 poll. When you look it up yourself, you actually find the opposite is true. 2/3 of Mexicans have an unfavorable opinion of America. And so that seems like something he just made up on the fly also. But basically, if you want to get to his overall argument, his overall premise, one of the things I picked up, what I thought was one of his most important points, and you can watch it and see if you come up with your own conclusions, was that despite there being no real evidence that China is turning into an aggressive country, but despite that China has not been in any wars for the past 40 years, that its growing military is there not to defend itself from ever being invaded again and protect their status. Because let's keep in mind here, the last time China was the world's #1 superpower, they didn't have a sufficient military and they were carved up by foreign imperial powers and had drugs pushed on their population, not only by England, that's the one that everybody knows, Great Britain and the Opium Wars, but by America also. Even Franklin Roosevelt's grandfather profited massively from the opium trade in China. His military isn't to protect themselves against this. And it's not a precaution considering that American military bases are encircling the entire country, but it's an indication that China wants to become an aggressor. And he tries so hard, Lyman tries so hard to find any data to twist and turn into this narrative that there's a risk that China might become aggressive. Finding examples of China's economy isn't growing as much as it used to, ignoring the fact that China's economy is the only economy that grew, granted less than before, but the only economy that grew during this pandemic situation we have across the globe. And he finds superficial things like saying, oh, well, there was this one province, I can't remember which province he used, maybe it was Gansu or something like that they had a slightly declining GDP. And these are all indications that maybe China might turn aggressive. It was the most crazy form of mental gymnastics I had ever seen in my life. But what was perhaps even more remarkable was that one of his suggestions and one of his takeaways to this potential that China theoretically, perhaps, eventually might use their military for aggressive purposes, that the American military, who does use their force for aggressive purposes, the military who does go around the world trying to spread their ideologies, should help smaller countries near China contain China, or help them to build military bases. America, the world police, the same country that has been involved in wars for 226 years of its 243 years of existence, who's responsible for killing over 5 million people since 9/11 alone, and have destroyed countries like Libya, once one of the richest nations in Africa, who have now been reduced to terrorism and trading slaves in open markets, should start building even more military bases around China than they already have. Because China might one day become maybe even half as aggressive as America. It was the most crazy thing I've ever seen. But it's not surprising. I think a lot of people have this moral high ground without any sort of self-reflection whatsoever. And they go through the most extreme mental gymnastics to try to prove their point or their negative feelings about China, that these are the kinds of twists and turns they make. And these are the kinds of, as I mentioned, lack of self-awareness that they display also. But I don't want to, I've been going on, this is way longer than I thought it would be. As I said at the beginning of the video, this was supposed to be a short video. Check out the video for yourself. Follow Carl. I'm sure he's going to have more debates coming soon. Follow him on Twitter also, if you're a Twitter user. There's a lot of amazing gems on there that he continually posts. So definitely check them out. I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope you guys enjoyed the recommended video, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace.